Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This is Ukraine War breaking news update for the 12th of October 2024, and really good news on several levels. First of all, rewind. What is the biggest challenge for the Ukrainians at the moment? I was talking about this with Sean Pinner yesterday in my interview with him, and the biggest challenge for Ukrainians in terms of everything that's going on the front lines and how the Ukrainians are losing territory to the Russians. The biggest challenge is Su-34s dropping, or any plane that is dropping these aerial guided glide bombs. These carb bombs that have anywhere up to sort of 3,000 kilograms of explosives. We've got 250s, 500s, 1,500s, so on and so forth. What the Russians are doing is destroying fortifications, destroying Ukrainian front lines, destroying towns and villages with these bombs, and then they are able to walk over afterwards. This is a different way of doing things than from what we saw earlier on in the war, where they'd attritionally take down they'd attritionally overtake these settlements by again and again, meat wave after meat wave, assaulting them with infantry and sometimes mechanized equipment. That's incredibly costly as a way of doing things. And then we saw this. Avdiivka was really the first time we saw it so effectively. The Ukrainians kind of had capitulated, and they had no answer to being hammered by these huge bombs that are fairly precise. So they're guided. They glide for 50, 70 kilometers. They can be dropped far away from the front lines, out of the way of any air defences, apart from if you riskily bring your top level air defences much closer to the front line. If you do that, something like a Patriot, then you can take down some of these, and that has happened a number of times, so we believe. But if you do that, those Patriots are then themselves very much in the range of Orlan, Zala, Supercam reconnaissance drones, and they get taken out. So it's a really high-risk strategy. So how do you deal with these bombers? Now, one option would be to have modern or more modern Western aircraft equipped with longer range missiles and radar coverage. That means that actually you can shoot them down in air-to-air combat. The problem is that then puts those planes themselves, rather like the air defences, into compromised positions. You're making them vulnerable. High risk strategy. But if you can do that properly, if you can acquire the target with better radar networks, acquire that target before they can acquire you as a target, and you can fire a missile at them that has longer range than the missile they generally have, or if this is a single fighter bomber, how much air-to-air capability do they have? So okay, the news is a Su-34 has been shot down. Su-34 is a twin-piloted, twin-crewed fighter bomber. So here it is. It's the fallback known as by NATO. Soviet origin, Russian twin-engine, twin-seat, all-weather, supersonic, medium-range fighter bomber or strike aircraft. First flew in 1990, intended for the Soviet Air Forces, entered service in 2014 with the Russian Air Force. Okay, so that's that. It has been shot down, and fighter bomber announces Earth is Sky Brothers, which means that the plane has been lost and both pilots have been lost. So that's pretty much accepted. Now, what's also going on is that there are lots of rumours, and the rumours are fairly good. So, urgent, says one Russian source. Our Su-34 was shot down. The crew died. The plane was shot down during the FARB drop from the UMPK, approximately 50 kilometers from the front line. Okay, so 50 kilometers from the front line, which is kind of where you're dropping these guided glide bombs. That's a pretty good range to shoot an aircraft down. How has it been shot down? Because that is good. Our Su-34 was apparently shot down by an F-16 that was over enemy-controlled territory. Okay. Now, if this is true, now there's no definite reason to believe this is for sure true. These are possibly panicked rumours from Russians. But if that was an F-16 over enemy-controlled territory, A, that is super risky, and B, to be risky, you're making a judgment call that this is worthwhile. but also that you might well be quite well protected as well. You might be operating in twos, threes, so that you have that protection. Of course, things like man pads would be man portable air defense systems on the shoulder would be a real risk. But anyway. Soon there will be more such losses, says this source. NATO released the F-16 on a hunt. Now there will be fewer FABs flying over the ridges. Consequently, the losses of our infantry will increase. All of these things are connected when you're talking about combined arms maneuvers or combined arms warfare. So whether you have, the amount of fighter bombers you have and how effective they are with these guided glide bombs will affect your attrition rates of infantry and equipment. Because if you aren't flattening the enemy with these, then you are going to have to be taking that territory by attritionally attacking, like we saw earlier on in the war. And this is good for Ukraine. Will this change the behavior of the Ukrainians? If this is true, so first of all, is it true that this was an F-16? Don't know. You've got three options. One, pilot error. Highly unlikely. Doesn't look like it was the case. The claims are it's shot down. Two, F-16. Three, Ukrainian air defense. Either way, this is at 50 kilometers back, assuming that is true. This isn't a unit with a man pads. One of these Stingers on the shoulder, shooting it down from 5 kilometers away. So this is going to be a decent air defense system brought forward, or an F-16 doing its business. Both of those are risky. Both of those, I think, is exactly what I've been wanting to see for a long time. The Russians being put under pressure, the Ukrainians taking it to the Russians, making the Russians think, and doing something about these bloody guided glide bombs that are wreaking havoc. So unhappy, panicky Russian sources claim a Ukrainian F-16 shot down one of Russia's Su-34 bombers. These are used every day to launch guided bombs at civilian targets in Ukraine. Keep up the good work. Russian side claiming Su-34 was shot down by an F-16. And then Jane Kiev says F-16 shooting down a $40 million Russian Su-34 over Ukraine on a Saturday afternoon. Damn, son. So a bit of Tom Cruise Maverick, pretty happy there. So lots of claims concerning this. And we'll see. Well, maybe we won't. Maybe we won't know how it was shot down. But if it was an F-16, that would be incredibly good news for the Ukrainians and a real PR win. And even if it's not true and Russians are panicking and these rumours are spreading, then that's good as well. Either it's an F-16 or it's a good use of air defence. So I'm happy either way. The biggest challenge to the Ukrainians at the moment is the guided glide bombs and therefore the airplanes that fly them, which is why you need to be able to hit, or Ukraine needs to be able to hit those air bases, and failing that, need to be able to hit the airplanes, because they're not going to hit the bombs, right? So excellent. This is really good news. I hope it was F-16s, but if it's air defense, that's, I guess, just as cool. So let me know what you think. And I'll get on with the rest of my videos for today.